All right, I'm here with Mark Passio. He just gave his speech right behind us. It was killer here at Anarchy 2019. Mark, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your work and what you do.
Thanks, Carmen. Great to be here with you. So I'm Mark Passio, independent researcher from Philadelphia. My work centers around the causal factors of the human condition of slavery. I get into the occult, I get into mind control, I get into human consciousness and how we can improve it. I get into what is known as natural law, the behavioral laws of creation that are centered upon objective morality. I just gave a talk here at Anarchy 2019 called Anarchy and the Occult Part 2, Religion versus Initiation, in which I tried to very clearly define what were some of the belief systems that hold anarchists back from an accurate understanding of the governing dynamics of creation and the causal factors for why we're in the situation that we're in as a species, and then help to initiate them into some occult truths, some deep hidden occult truths about, we need to stop lying to ourselves. We need to look at the shadow side of ourselves, take another look at who we are and our deeply held convictions and beliefs. And then to stop dreaming, which is a prescription against cognitive dissonance, meaning we have to stop psychologically holding contradictory views in our mind simultaneously. The example I gave is anarchists believe we're somehow going to manifest a world of freedom, but we don't need to understand natural law, which are the governing dynamics of freedom. Well, you can't have it both ways. That's like saying I want to hold my hand in the fire and not have it be burnt. Well, believing that you can do that versus what reality actually manifests are two contradictory things. And that we need to stop dreaming and engaging in magical thinking and believing that the world works a different way than it actually does, because we're too uncomfortable with that reality. And then the other factors were to stop lying, stop dreaming, learn how to think. That's to engage the trivium process. The trivium process of truth discovery is knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, to assemble all the very great amount of seemingly disparate pieces of information that may not, they may just look like disjointed pieces of a puzzle picture. When you put them all together, then you have all the pieces of knowledge that you need to make the big picture. And then you have to put that together and process it so you can see the big picture. That's where understanding comes from. That's the second step of the trivium. That's decision-making processes by processing information. So if you don't have the information, you can't do that effectively. That's why the occult rulers, the ruling class, the social engineers, they want to control the world from the level of available information. If they can control the information that people get to see and hear, well then they're controlling their whole decision-making process. And then what comes after you make decisions through your free will, you're making those decisions to gauge how you are going to then behave. So your available knowledge or information, and then your decision-making processes are what determine the quality of your behavior. So then you behave in the world, then you get a result or an effect or a manifestation in the world. So the wisdom stage is behaving the right way once you have come to understand what all of the large amounts of information that you had to gather means. And then you could see the big picture, you understand it, and you act rightly in the world based on your understanding. Then you're going to get a manifested result in reality. And it's going to be either, as all the individuals that comprise society do that, in the aggregate, we're either going to get freedom if we do it right, or if we don't do it right, we don't engage that process of truth discovery right, we're going to get slavery, which is what's been the status quo for tens of thousands of years. And, that is why things have to change, and we have to learn how to think, not what to think based on indoctrination that is the current school system. The ancient trivium wasn't outcome-based education like we have today. It was classical liberal arts education. It taught us critical thinking, how to think instead of what to think. Now we have outcome-based education, and that's teaching people what to think to make them behave a certain way. And you could see what the result is. Is the result freedom or slavery? Well, then that's how you know, was the aggregate behavior moral or not. And then finally you have live in the present moment, true present moment awareness, be here now. That means start from where you're at, don't have anxiety over the past or regret for the future, actually make self-improvement from the current moment, from your current position of where you are at. You don't have to have shame over where you are at. You don't have to have trauma over where you are at. You need acceptance over where you are at. And you need an understanding accurately of where you are at. That's how you set your coordinates to where you want to go. So that's truly living in the present moment. And truly living in the present moment also means stop fighting among ourselves. As I explained in my presentation, that's like combatants on the same side of a brutal war fighting each other instead of fighting the enemy. And that's what the anarchist community, the freedom, the truth community, that's what they're doing. They're not getting on the same page about principles. They're fighting each other about all of the trappings, you know, all of the decorations on the deck of the ship, instead of understanding, is this ship seaworthy? And it's going to be seaworthy based on whether it's built on principles, okay? And that's what we have to come together on, common sense principles. Then finally activate the physical body, and because it's going to be needed. See, a lot of people don't understand the self-defense principle. You know, they get bits and pieces of it maybe. They may pay lip service to it, but are they really prepared if they have to defend themselves? You know, and I know you're big into martial arts.
Yeah.
You compete, you know.
Yeah.
I study martial arts. I study Jeet Kune Do, which is a philosophy more than it is an actual martial art. Jun Fan Gung Fu is the actual practical application of it. But Jeet Kune Do is the philosophy of, if someone else starts aggression, do whatever you can and in whatever way you can to finish the aggression. It's not about clean street fighting. It's not about competition. It's about life and death situations in the real world when somebody aggressed against you that they had no right to conduct, behavior that they had no right to conduct, and then you do anything within your power with whatever is at your disposal. You are not attempting to prove that you are a better fighter, that you are in any way bigger, better, stronger, anything. You know, so it is a total philosophy of self-defense. And a lot of people don't understand that. That's why they don't get the full activation of the body, because they don't understand that we're living in duress. And a lot of other people may not go further in consciousness. See, I think people who don't get the activation of the body and the self-defense part have a lot of ego and hubris in believing that evil can never win, and that good is so powerful that it will always win. And that's very, very, very naive. Evil can win. You know, not to like depress anybody or burst anybody's bubble, but good can be destroyed and evil can win in life and in the world, on any planet, including this one, okay? So we have to be realistic about that. This is what stop lying and stop dreaming are about. You know, we get these religious and new age notions that good is the most powerful force anywhere in the universe and it always wins. This is not necessarily true, folks. Human beings can fall into darkness and ignorance, and evil can win. So the answer is should that eventuality continue to snowball and happen, or are we just going to lay down and take it physically if other people will not change their consciousness? And I'm telling you, I'm going to do everything in my power to change consciousness, but I'm not laying down physically by any stretch of the human imagination. When somebody comes for my rights physically without right to do so, I'm defending myself in the physical domain with weaponry. Okay? And guess what? You will never, all of our foreign friends listening, you'll never put that down in the United States of America without carpet hydrogen bombing the entire country from coast to coast, every square fucking inch. That's what you would have to do to take our weapons away from us. And I tell you that definitively. And trust me, I'm more soft about that than some other people living in America. Believe it, know it, absolutely and definitively. America will never be disarmed. So activation of the physical body also includes eating right, exercising right, engaging in martial arts, engaging in self-defense, in the self-defense principle when it is required, never for aggression, only for true defense. So, but you know, then we go into the idea, are we already not living in a situation requiring self-defense? Is not the human condition duress? We are living in a constant open-ended threat called duress, that if we don't comply with the mandates of the ruling class, we can be harmed or caged, even if we're not doing anything immoral. Think about that, you know? We don't give enough, the arbitrarily decided amount of our labor over to the ruling class because they demand it, well then they'll cage us or physically do harm unto us. That's called duress. That's like me telling Carmen, you're never allowed to eat a banana ever again in your entire life. And if you do, I'm going to hunt you down, I'm going to find you, and I'm going to beat you with a baseball bat. That's called duress. That's an open-ended threat. He would have a right to put that threat down physically by killing me if necessary. Okay? That would be his right under natural law to do. We have to understand that's what, I'm not telling anybody to do that behavior. I'm trying to explain to you that's a right. It's not a wrong. We have to stop looking at the non-aggression principle as you are never allowed to defend yourself. Gandhi himself said that the Indians, when they were under British rulership and occupation, should have defended themselves with weaponry, with battle weaponry of war. You can go read about it. He said that is what I would have recommended if it were possible, but unfortunately, they already had their rights to own guns already taken away. And that's why the countries who have had that right taken away, woe unto you. You're going to be in a horrific situation if the world continues to go the direction that it goes. And the people in the United States, along with very few other countries, okay, are going to be in a position, like maybe Switzerland is going to be okay, maybe I believe Yemen might be up there with gun ownership, something like that. I'm not sure if it's Yemen or some other Middle Eastern nation. They still have guns. Russians still have a pretty decent gun ownership rate. But most of the other nations of the world have already been disarmed and had their self-defense principle taken away. They've been defanged. They've been declawed and defanged. And when their government decides we're coming for your rights and we're coming for your lives, they're going to have to bend over and kiss their ass goodbye. Unfortunately, that's the sad fact of the matter of reality. And that's why I told people in my seminar the other day to belabor this last point of initiation, which is the activation of the body in the physical domain. This isn't about airy-fairy spirituality, folks. This is about understanding we're under duress by psychopaths. Psychopaths are holding us under duress. They don't care. They don't have any heart-based intelligence. They don't care what they do to other people. They don't care. They want power. They want physical, worldly power. They want to take people's rights. They want to take their freedom. They want to coerce because they hate themselves. They're little, small-minded, loveless pieces of trash that don't care about anything except themselves. And because they hate themselves so much, they care about their lowercase s self, but they have no connection to the true higher self. And because they hate the essence of their spirit and their soul so much, that's why they act in the psychopathic ways that they do. I'm not going to be ruled by those kind of people. It doesn't matter whether you kill me physically. I'm not complying. We haven't gotten to that level of courage yet in the world. I'm not going to comply. And if you come for my rights and if you come for my life, I'm coming back physically at you. I want to do it non-violently, non-aggressively. And that's the consciousness way. That's doing it through the elevation of consciousness and the understanding of natural law and the occult. But I'm not so naive to believe that every human being is necessarily going to make that leap in consciousness. Okay, that's called living in the real world, not lying or dreaming. Okay, and that's understanding that it may have to come to that. It may have to come to physical rebellion. So I'm not saying that it absolutely must. I'm saying that if we don't do our job of conducting the great work and teaching moral law to other people, it is going to come to that. That's why I teach this information, so that it doesn't come to that. And I'm trying to explain to people that if we don't do this work of teaching and elevating consciousness through knowledge, it's going to come to a bloodbath. And I don't want to see it come to that. But if it does, so be it, and I will do my best to survive it, because I feel that my mind and the information that I convey through my mind is important enough to survive, and that's why I take the precautions of preparedness, of gathering weaponry and keeping it in a state of preparedness, and I take care of my physical body and I learn self-defense. Okay? And I would recommend everybody else to do the same, because that's practical. While you do that, you teach consciousness, you teach true spirituality, you teach natural law. We do both of those things simultaneously. Maybe it won't have to come to physical rebellion, which is what I would like to see happen. And then I added one last occult initiation step, which was activate true heart-based intelligence, or true care. If we're living only from the mind and only from the brain, we're missing a huge part of life. You have to live from holistic intelligence, which combines the mind and the heart. And if we lack that heart-based intelligence, we're not really making any progress toward a state of true anarchy, okay? So, to do that, we have to develop a much wider worldview, which is what I talked about in this. Occultism encompasses a wider worldview, and we have to understand that natural law, an understanding of natural law and true morality means that I understand from my heart that as one other individual is suffering, all are suffering, which is why we also have to reach out to the people that don't understand this yet. That's what all my information is for. It's for anybody to listen. I take an egalitarian approach to knowledge. I think we all have the ability to understand this. The vast majority of us, let's say, okay? So people can change. I'm living proof of that. I was a black-hearted, psychopathic individual in my youth, okay? I went through a radical spiritual transformation. People are capable of changing. We have to understand that heart-based intelligence means that we understand the underlying truth that as anyone is suffering, we are all suffering together. As long as there is suffering for any, there is suffering for all. And that includes the animal kingdom. And a lot of anarchists don't want to accept that. I'm a vegan, but I know you're a vegan as well, not a militant vegan, okay? I don't tell people that they have to become vegan overnight. My transformation to veganism took many years, but I finally accomplished it. And it's about reducing suffering and doing whatever we can in whatever way we can to reduce suffering and make it less. If you're on that path, I'm okay with you. I'm not telling anybody I wouldn't tell anybody for health reasons to go vegan overnight. You'd probably harm your body if you did, because you're addicted to the way you've been eating. It's the same as leveling off of any other addiction. You got to do it gradually, But we're living proof you could do it just fine and be healthy, strong men and women by living a vegan lifestyle. I know we're strong people.
Yeah.
We're very strong individuals, okay? Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, it can absolutely be done correctly. A lot of people don't do it correctly. You got to learn a little bit about knowledge of nutrition, and how the body works in the energetic fields of the body. You do that, you combine all that with good nutrition, good exercise, you'll be able to do it fine, and you could do it in your own time, There's no rush toward it. It's a process, like anything else is a process. That's what my speech was about. That's what I'm all about. That's what my information is all about. This was very quick. Had to rush through it. 45, blasting 45 minutes out there of quick, rapid fire information. But if you want to know more and you want to take your time to learn it and get the really big, wider picture, you go to my website, whatonearthishappening.com. There's a wealth of information up there. I always tell people, take the podcast in order from number 1, go to the podcast section, go back to number 1. They're listed in reverse chronological order because I like to keep the newest ones at the top. You go all the way back to number 1. You start in order, listen to them in order, and it'll blow the top of your head off, okay? You'll definitely be transformed with the knowledge that I present there, because I'm exploding the knowledge of all the secret societies, mystery traditions, and the occult onto the world. This is what I decided to do when I got out of those orders and institutions. I said, I'm going to reveal everything that I understand, they understand, and I'm going to give it out to the world in an egalitarian fashion and let other people decide through their karma what they do with it. And that's what I've been doing with my life ever since I left those dark occult organizations back in my youth.
That's why I love Mark Passio, man, because he can take you through the entire picture without taking a breath. You just got the initiation into the secret societies of the world. That stuff is literally they've gone through leaps and bounds to keep that hidden from you.
You know how old that process is? You know how old that process is that I just laid out there in 5 steps, and I added my own 6th, which was to truly live from the heart? That's 250,000 years old, that process. 250,000 years human beings have communicating that process from mouth to ear and writing it down through books and trying to keep it alive, trying to keep that lamp of wisdom lit in the world through times where they could have been tortured slowly to death for teaching it to others. That's what our ancestors did to keep that knowledge in the world. We have it easy, folks. We can still speak it freely. We have technology to assist us in distributing it throughout the world. We have it easy compared to what our ancestors had. That's why there's no excuse for us not to do it.
I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, yeah, we're here in Paradise at a conference right now.
That's right.
That's right. I mean? So there's no excuse. Get up off your ass and do this shit because we need it. We need it from everyone. You know, we need that internal change. Like you said, natural law, it really involves everybody making that change first, and then that ripples out into infinity, and then we get that true freedom that we we want.
That's right.
So,
there's requirements for that change, you know? We have to learn the requirements for creating that change in the real physical domain. It's not about just putting it in the realm of ideas and intent. You could have all the great ideas and intent that you want. If you don't act in the real world, you got to bring it to boots on the ground spirituality. Spirit in the flesh spirituality right here on earth. Be here now, be here present, and do the work here. That's what it's all about. So, you know, that's why I'm not a religionist, I'm not an atheist. I have a holistic approach to spirituality. It's a bridge between science and spirituality. This is not a religion. This is a holistic science of anarchy. And that's what will really usher in the true state of anarchy.
Nice name, Plug. That was amazing.
That's right. That's right.
That's beautiful, Mark.
Speaking of the State of Anarchy and how we, synchronistically ended up in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the documentary and the
Sure.
happenstance of you ending up back here
Absolutely.
and how you got here.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, these guys helped me to be back at this conference. I wasn't going to be here this year. These are, fellow Philly folk, okay, especially Carmen here. I know Pat's a world traveler, but he ended up in Philly. We got together. They're helping me to edit my natural law documentary. It's going to be called Mark Passio and the Science of Natural Law. It's a little bit about my background, not a whole lot, just introducing who I am and what I've been doing, and then we talk about the science of natural law and how it works in our lives. And it's going to probably end up being between an hour and a half, something like that, maybe about an hour, I'll say. I scripted this out, and I started the process of working on the documentary at the Art Institute of Philadelphia. That school, unfortunately, could no longer help me continue the edit process because they're kind of going out of business, unfortunately. And so some people came together, and we're working on doing that ourselves, taking that into the editing and finalizing process. I'm going to say my goal is the end of the year to have it out. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to start really working on it in earnest. I had to kind of put it to the back burner to do all the work that I had to do to put all my workshop and presentation together for this event. But when I get back to Philly after this event, it's going to be going with that full steam. So, what was the other question about? How I got back here. Okay, so Pat and Carmen helped me reconcile some differences with the staff from Acapulco. There was some misunderstandings and miscommunications where I didn't get audio that I needed to give to my own video editor, who had a very limited window to help me get the video edited from last year. And, I asked for it many times, several. And the ball was sort of dropped in the process of actually getting that to me, and I felt like I was being blown off. Whether that was the case or not, it's what it felt like to me. And therefore I became upset and said I wasn't going to take part in the conference this year. They eventually did get the audio over to me that I needed. What happened is I had a malfunction of my phone. Many people will today have seen me. I wore a lapel mic in addition to my headset mic because I record as a backup. And my backup failed last year because my phone died in my pocket when I was trying to record my audio. And I didn't have any audio for my presentation slides, so I couldn't give any audio to my video editor. I didn't even care about the video, I just needed the audio. So in that process, there was misunderstanding, and now we worked it out. You guys liaisoned with the staff, and we assured that would not happen this year. An apology was issued to me, which I accepted wholeheartedly, and we made it happen again this year. So I want to thank you guys for helping that reconciliation process take place, because might not have happened otherwise. Yeah. So I appreciate you, making that come into motion.
Of course, Mark.
But more specifically, how did you actually get here is hilarious.
Oh, physically, how did I come here? Yeah. I took trains and buses because I don't fly. I didn't want the being accosted by the TSA, and there's a lot less of that. Not saying there's none of that on trains and buses, but pretty smooth travels, long travel, exhausting travel. I took trains all the way to the Houston, Texas area, just shy of Houston, Longview. And then from there, I took buses all the way down to Acapulco. It took about 4 days. A funny story is I missed a bus connection in Laredo, and they told me, you want to catch your next bus or get a bus transfer to go right to Acapulco, just walk across the border bridge at Laredo. And so I actually crossed the border to Mexico on foot to get here, which I guarantee you no other person who attended this conference did, or I'd be shocked if there is another person who actually crossed the border on foot. So it was kind of a funny story. But that was cool because all they did is like ask you to put your suitcase on a conveyor belt and to just check it for weapons, right? They didn't scan my body. They didn't make me walk through a metal detector. They didn't take my passport. I had my passport in my hand going like who wants to take this? Didn't even take it. We don't want to see it. Go. Wave me through the border. Seriously, that's what happened. Okay, so it almost became a problem here because they asked for my passport. It wasn't stamped. I didn't have an immigration certificate. And they're like, well, how'd you get across? How'd you get into the country? I'm like, I walked across the border. Apparently they like open borders. So, I'm not complaining. I'd rather travel be like that personally. I don't want to be harassed by agents of the state.
Agreed.
I would imagine no one does. So it was long and tiring travel, but it was interesting and fun at the same time. So that's how I got here. That's how I'm going to go back.
That's amazing. Well, speaking of going back to Philadelphia, I'm going to be following you. Unfortunately, on a plane, so that means I'm going to have some guy I don't know touch me up for a paycheck. But we're going to be back there. We're going to be banging out this documentary, and we also are planning a conference in the Harvest Moon. Do you think people at home could expect to maybe see you there, maybe speaking or something?
If you're offering, I'm accepting.
Yeah, that's amazing, Mark. Well, there you have it firsthand. We will be having Mark Passio at Anarchadelphia. So if you want to catch what I'm sure will be another great presentation, hopefully maybe it could be the Sacred Gift of Anger.
Ooh.
That's one of the ones that you're working on.
That's one I've been working on.
That I'm very intrigued about.
Okay.
So if you debut that at my event, I would literally shit my pants.
All right, I'll try to make that happen.
All right, that's amazing. Well, Mark, thank you so much for talking to me and for sharing the great work with everybody at home, man. You're the
Appreciate
fucking
it, Carmen. Thank you, brother.
All right, let's go enjoy Mexico.
Join the State of Anarchy this September's Harvest Moon in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where this gathering of like minds aims to foster unbreakable relationships between the movement's leading forces, whom teach self-love and ownership, blockchain techno-economics, as well as exposing the Earth's sacred hidden knowledge. So will we see you there?